right, so Ohio State squeaks by Indiana 42-35. This is a matchup of two top 10 teams. Ohio State coming in the third-ranked team, Indiana coming in the ninth-ranked team. This was quite the matchup, and I am an Ohio State fan, so this is coming from a Buckeye perspective. And, of course, I do try my best to be fair, but just to let you know, I am an Ohio State fan. The only thing I can say is this game was embarrassing for Ohio State. Very, very embarrassing for Ohio State. And when I say embarrassing, I don't mean, you should be embarrassed because, you kept it close with Indiana. No disrespect to Indiana. I think they have cemented themselves as a very good football team. I think there's like 4 tiers in college football: bad, okay, good, and elite. Indiana typically is in that okay range, some years in that bad range. This year they've established themselves as a good football team and a good program. Ohio State, despite whatever happened today, is an elite team. But the reason why Ohio State should be embarrassed is simply the little stuff. And let's just start off, the person who deserves the most blame is number one, Justin Fields. Justin Fields had by far his worst game of his football career that I can remember, even going back to high school. Not saying I've watched every game that he's played, but as far as a consistent performance, this was just horrible. He had 18 of 30, 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Now, that might not sound bad, 18 of 30, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, but the 3 interceptions were absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. The first one, or I believe it was the first one, where he just kind of threw it into double coverage. He's just got to see that. He's got to know better. He should have seen the safety creeping over. That's not anything too complex for somebody of Justin Fields' caliber. So that's completely on him. The second one, I understand what he was doing. It got tipped up. It's easy to say it's not his fault. He was just trying to make a play there. It is what it is. It happens. Not everybody's perfect. Sometimes those things just happen. So that's not nearly as egregious as the first one. The third interception, it really was like eye-opening to me, because it was like, what in the world are you doing? Justin Fields is getting sacked, and as he's coming to the ground, lobs it up midfield, out in the middle of the field, open air, and it gets picked off. Shocker. When you throw a ball up in the air, what do you think's going to happen? Now, on the replay, it looked like he was looking for Julian Fleming, who, we know the talent that Julian Fleming is, best receiver in this 2020 class, or 2019 class, whatever it was. I think it's 2020. But he, that's just one of those things where, guys like these elite players, they start to feel themselves a little bit. Hey, I need to go win the Heisman. I need to make these plays. And Urban Meyer mentioned that in the post game. And Justin Fields, that's one of those things you just got to eat your losses. You can't throw a ball out. It'd be different if you felt like you could get it there. He just kind of chucked it up, and Fleming was in the area, but that's just a huge mistake. So, and he was very gung. I don't even know. I don't know. It was just weird, because normally Justin Fields is not this guy who looks flustered, who looks irritated, frustrated. And today, I mean, he never let it rip, you know. Um, as a Browns fan, this is some of the things that I talked about with Baker Mayfield. You know, his skill set is see it, get it there, let it rip. Um, not that Justin Fields, his skill set's not quick release. That's not one of the things that you say, hey, this is why he's a good quarterback. Um, but at the same time, he normally does not struggle this much, with getting the ball out. Normally, he will take chances. And today, the Indiana defense was in his head the entire game. So Justin Fields played absolutely horrible today. And I do think it's an anomaly. I don't think this is something that is, like a long-term thing. People who look at this and say, well, he's not the second best quarterback in the draft now. No, that's, some people, I've already seen, Tony, I had to correct you on Twitter because you were being an idiot, saying that Michael Penix Jr. is better than Justin Fields. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And that's no disrespect to Michael Penix Jr. But Justin Fields, he had an off day. Okay? One game out of how many games now, this was horrible, and it could have been worse. It's not like I don't know. It's not like anything cost us the game. We did win the game. Now, if he would have thrown a pick and they would have went down and scored whatever, that would have been different. But he certainly had a bad game today. And the other part of this team that really frustrated me was this offensive line. Harry Miller was getting obliterated. Like, he looked JV today. And, and it's not just Harry Miller. He's just one of the guys who I really noticed seemed to be getting, I don't know if beat up's the right word, but pushed around. And, Thayer Munford had his moments. Wyatt Davis even. I'm really starting to think Wyatt Davis is very overrated. Not that he's not a good player, but there's just a couple things I've seen from him that has not really impressed me. So the offensive line just struggled big time today. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I watched, missed assignments, and Justin Fields is running for his life because he's got a guy in his face 2 seconds after the snap. So the offensive line was supposed to be a big strength of this team, and they have been anything but that, especially today. In past games, they haven't been terrible. They've had some times where they've looked really good. But when you're looking at level of competition, this is something that concerns me, and Ohio State's going to probably go undefeated, probably be Big Ten champs. But my concern is not that. My concern is when it comes time for the playoffs, and Ohio State ends up having to play Alabama or having to play Clemson, they're going to go to the film and look at, hey, Indiana got Justin Fields flustered. Let's go look at that. Let's go see how, what confused the line. Let's go look at, you know what I mean? That's what really worries me, And as I'm recording this, Najee Harris just ran an amazing run for a touchdown. I love that dude. But my point is now, it's not that you struggled against Indiana. It's how you struggled against Indiana. The teams who have, these elite teams like I talked about earlier, where Indiana's a good team, they're not an elite team. And yes, the elite teams are numbered, I don't want to pick somebody to compare Indiana with just because of we're down to conferences only. But, when Ohio State plays an elite team and they can use the same formula, I mean, they have major improvements that need to be made. Master Teague, I thought ran the ball a lot better than I've seen him run the ball. Trey Sermon had his good moments. He has not been as explosive as I thought he would be when he came to Ohio State. I really liked him in Oklahoma, and I expected him to kind of break onto the scene a lot sooner. And here we are now, 3-4 games in, whatever we are, and it seems like we're starting to get somewhere in the run game, nowhere near what it needs to be. With that being said, Ohio State does have a fairly easy schedule, finishing out the year. So I believe there's 3 regular season games left. Ohio State, Maryland obviously got canceled. Then the Big Ten title game, whoever that may be against, probably Wisconsin, Northwestern maybe, those 2 are playing now. So Ohio State, my problem is not, hey, you didn't look good against Indiana. My problem is, okay, how do you improve that in the limited games you have left? And I really do think that Ohio State's defense, not even just the defense, I feel like everything was starting to click. And, that Maryland game got canceled, and I can't help but wonder, not what would Jimmy Buffett do, but shout out to you if you get that joke. I can't help but wonder, did that change of schedule hurt the momentum of Ohio State? I really, I have to think about that, and it's not an excuse, I mean, everybody's dealing with this, Clemson's got the same situation going on, everybody does. But when you look at where this team was in the last game versus now, some of the things that you felt like you were good at, you've seen slip up. And that's certainly a concern. Defensively, the DBs are struggling. The communication is not there. It seems like whatever they are doing, it's just not clicking, and so much of a secondary is about communication, right? And I think Ohio State does have good players. I think they have elite players. So many people are down on Shaun Wade. I still think Shaun Wade's good. I really do think Shaun Wade's a good player. Same with Seven Banks, Hooker, all these guys. A lot of them are younger. Proctor's just now getting his chance to really get some consistent playing time. And, just like what I talked about, how can Ohio State fix this in the limited amount of games they're going to have left? And that's the main concern with me. Now, the front 4, obviously we don't have Chase Young. We can't get Chase Young. He's in the NFL. But I'm waiting on one of those guys to really step up and be the guy. Ohio State has had the guy the last how many years? Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Chase Young. You can go down the list. And it seems like Ohio State this year, they have the potential. Jonathan Cooper's a very good player. Zach Harrison's still very young, and I do think he will break out as the number 1 guy eventually. But it's kind of like, hey, we need somebody to really step up. And Tommy Togiai has played very well. Haskell Garrett has played very well. But it seems like we don't have the guy, that one dominant guy that you can count on in big moments. We have a bunch of pretty decent good players, but we don't have the one. And like I said, I think Zach Harrison will be that guy, but he's as a sophomore, still developing, still trying to, hone his craft. You can't really put everything on him now, and I think that's fair to say. So Ohio State, I mean, the linebacking core I thought played fine today. Um, the refs, I mean, there were some bad calls. The one being a fumble, whatever. I mean, there was just a couple bad calls, and I know, it goes both ways, but I think certainly the calls against Ohio State were more severe, and anybody else who's arguing against that, I don't know what you're watching. I don't. And I've seen your arguments on Twitter. I think you're dumb saying that. But overall, I mean, it's embarrassing. I mean, this performance is embarrassing based on where you thought you were. I thought Ohio State had a legitimate chance to be the number one team in the nation. And based on what I seen today, I'll be surprised. I don't want to say I'll be surprised. That's not the right thing to say. I wouldn't be upset if they bumped us down to 4. Alabama will probably stay number 1. Clemson probably 2. Notre Dame 2 maybe. It's just hard to look at Ohio State, look at what they've done the first, few games before this game, and then look at this game against Indiana, and it's like, what is this? We thought you were elite. We thought you were dominant, possible number 1 team in the country. So it's embarrassing, and there's a lot of concerns. And the question is, do they have enough time to really, really figure out these concerns, get some solutions there? And I think a lot of it, honestly, especially defensively, is just time. A lot of these guys are young, inexperienced, and they need to just get it together. But, for Indiana, I don't think that, how should I say this? They're a very good team. They fight to the end. I think that's a clear thing. Indiana might not be the best team. They might not have the greatest players. But they will go toe-to-toe with you swinging until you knock them out. And that's the part to me that's embarrassing, is Ohio State started off this game just on fire. Offense, 2 plays score? Defense had a great showing early on, and then it went downhill quick. And that's the part that really, really concerns me. So I look for Ohio State to get back on track. I don't think these issues, I think you're going to see a different team just because of the age. And I don't think, Justin Fields will bounce back. I have no concerns with Justin Fields. But his performance today was just terrible. You could say, well, it wasn't that bad. Well, when you get the credit, you get the criticism. And that's the nature of the position. So, I forget who we play next week. I'm going to see if I can pull that up real quick. Who's Ohio State play? Ohio State. That's hockey. Okay. All right. So Ohio State plays Illinois next. That's a win. That should be fine. So coming up, we got Illinois, Michigan State, Michigan, Big Ten title game. So, all those games should be wins. To me, it's just a matter of getting it, honing your craft, molding the clay, because I think that's what it is. I think Ohio State is this big ball of clay that just needs time to get put together. So, but they have great players where it counts. Fields, it's time to get back on track. So, all right, go Bucks. get a win. See you in the next video. Bye.